Hello, sports fans. Larry Allen here at the KGAS studios. Alongside me, the head coach and athletic director at Carthage High School, Scott Surratt. The Bulldogs getting ready tonight to face the Lindale Eagles, first road game of the year and the second non-district game of the campaign for the Bulldogs. Last week, the Bulldogs at home against the Jacksonville Indians. And, Coach, we want to get some comments from you. Carthage won the toss, long touchdown drive, missed the extra point. Jacksonville came back, long touchdown drive, missed the extra point, so it was 6-6. And then the Bulldogs reeled off 37 straight points to take total control, 43-6, and it wound up 43-12. I want to get your comments, Scott, this week specifically about some offensive performers. We must have you comment about Blake Bogenschutz, sophomore, taking over for the senior Hunter Walden, who is injured and out for the year. And he completed, it was either his first 7 or 8 passes in a row. I know one of those two, over 200 yards passing in the first half. I had him 15 of 23 for the game, which would be 65.2%. There's no way around it. Sophomore performance, unbelievable for his first game.
He did have a very impressive performance, and it wasn't unexpected totally. You never know how a young man's going to react on a Friday night with a bunch of people up in the stands and that kind of atmosphere and that much pressure. But he answered all those questions, and he really played very, very well. And he had a couple of drops. I think he was probably, 12 or 16, his first 16 with a couple of drops. Cause he should have easily been 14 for 16, and he was on fire. You know what? Our game plan, honestly, was to go in. Let's make sure we protect him, and let's throw a little bit, but let's run the ball very well. And we had a run pass check on the first one, and he checked to a pass and completed to Pope. And then the second we did have a pass called, and he threw it to Pope again, and then said, he looks pretty good, boys. And so we just kept firing it. We kind of got our game plan, and when you got a hot hand like that, you got to go with it. And he was definitely hot, so we kept throwing it, and he did a great job. But the receivers did a great job. Pope had a phenomenal game, and Michi Bowman played well, and they blocked well too. The receivers did. So it was a total team effort. You can't throw the ball like that without protection, and we dominated up front. And the offensive line did a great job, and of course Clint Cage blocked. He had his best game of his career blocking. I think overall, even though he didn't catch a ball, he was open a couple of times, and he had his best game ever. And and Pipkin ran the ball well, and then the other two backs got in there. Justin had only 2 carries, but he scored, and DK got in and did very well. So it was a total team effort. We played very well.
I want to ask you more about Bogenschutz. With a young quarterback like that, do you give him, for each play, do you give him a choice? I guess you say, okay, Blake, this is what we'd like for you to run. How many options does he have other than that, what you say is the top option?
Well, we do everything in packages, and there's several packages. Sometimes we will just call, hey, let's run right 24 lead or whatever, and he has no option to check out of it. But sometimes we'll call a formation and call a check with me. We have a check with me series, and when we do that, he's got about 1 of 4 plays to pick. And it depends on what the defense is, and that's what we train them, during the week, and he calls it, and then there's sometimes we'll call a run and a pass together, and if they're playing the run, we're gonna throw it, and if they're playing the pass, we're gonna run it. And you know what I mean? If we get us a 6-man box, then we'll run the ball. If there's 7 in there, we're gonna throw it, and it's pretty easy on that one. And the one that's tough is when you go like trio left check, Speed Break Dallas trio left check with me, and he'll deal a dummy signal, and whatever he sees, we're going to go with and live with. We do have a pace that we go, a Florida pace, when he'll look back for us to be in the shotgun. He'll do a first leg, and then he'll look at us, and we'll call it on the sideline. So we have several different paces, but he's very, very intelligent. His IQ is way above his years and his experience, so he's going to get nothing but better for his checks. It's going to be hard to play that good every game, though. I mean, so how those sophomores are. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down, and hopefully, I think he's going to have a lot more ups and downs. But I don't want everybody to get too excited yet. He's still a young kid. He's just 15 years old.
All right, some more comments about Ed Pope. 10 receptions. I believe all of them were in the first half. I think I'm right about that. Over 160 yards receiving. and one highlight reel diving catch. Describe that diving catch, and just comment about Ed Pope, 10 receptions for the
Well,
night.
first of all, the diving catch is as good as I've seen in 21 years of coaching. This is my 22nd year of coaching, and you really couldn't tell until you see the end zone angle. The end zone angle, the ball's about 6 inches. It looked like it was 6 inches when he got his eyes around, and he made the catch. It was unbelievable. But that was, like I said, it was as good a catch I've ever seen. And then, Pope, we knew going in, listen, they don't have any tendencies. We did not overthrow it to him in the scrimmage, intentionally. We didn't want to go to him too much in the scrimmage, and we knew we didn't have any tendencies. They said, hey, if he's one-on-one, we're going to throw it to him every time. And they was playing us one-on-one, so we went to him. Second half, they started playing zone. Then we started going to other receivers and started also running the ball. So that's kind of the deal. If he can continue to get the double team, if he takes two, requires two men, then it makes our run game better, and then it makes everybody else better. They're one-on-one somewhere.
Now, he is committed to TCU. I believe I'm right about that. Do you know how TCU plans to use him?
Well, they recruit him as a safety, but there's no question that he can play wide out, and he'd fit very good in their scheme of things too, or anybody's scheme really. And so they'll put him at the best spot he can help when he gets there. But I wouldn't be surprised if he played offense, and wouldn't be surprised if he played defense. He's a great player on both sides.
Your comments about the new offensive lineman for you. Of course, you had Greg Brantley and Mario McCain back, Mitchell Kinman, Hussar, and Bry Anderson. How'd they do?
Well, Greg's a special player. In scrimmages, Greg was just okay for his standards. Really good for a lot of people, but just okay for his standards. And he wasn't okay the other night. He did a great job and really he had several pancakes, and he was the man the other night. And then right beside him, Bry Anderson, another senior, and played very good. And those two guys together and played well. And then our first start ever was Mitchell Kinman at our center. He played really good, and he got all his calls. He helps the quarterback make calls. He makes all the running calls, and he played super. And then we had two right guards, Mario McCain, and then Mario McCain started, and our right tackle was Dylan Hussar. Mm-hmm. And both of those guys, his first start ever was Dylan. On Friday night, Dylan played very good, and so those guys played well. And then, like I said, Cage played his best game in my opinion. And even though he didn't catch a ball, it's gonna look like he's played better probably on the games he catches. But a tight end's so valuable in the running game and also in the passing game. So he played very well, and our receivers played well. So yeah, like I said, the fullback played well. Claassen, Peyton Claassen played. I almost called him Kane. We coached his brother a few years ago, but. Peyton played well, and of course Tevin played well. Everybody played well. It was a team effort.
Now, we mentioned the offensive line, and you've got LZ Hicks, who is injured. How's he coming along?
He should hopefully be back by next week. We thought he was going to get cleared this week, being honest, and he's not going to play this week, but he should be back for next week. And, another one I forgot was Morgan Jeans. He came in from Mario, played probably more than Mario, and he played really good also. And you'll see a lot of him this week too. And when LZ gets back, there's going to be a lot of competition in there. LZ's a starter. He was really good when he got hurt, and so. He's probably going to go into the starting position, and we'll see what we can, who's the odd man out or whatever. So it's a lot of competition up there, and that's what it's all about.
Now, LZ played quite a bit last year for Mario when he was hurt.
He did. LZ played a bunch, and he rotated series in there with Mario a bunch, and then Mario got hurt and he started, and so he's got some experience, and he's a good player.
All right, how about your wideouts? A couple of more words about them. I know Tasker Shannon looked like he dropped a ball that he probably should have had. Michi Bowman, Major Harris. Talk about your wideouts.
They played well. Like I said, they blocked well, and that's part of being a wideout. And Tasker did have the drop, but he played well other than that. And then Michi played very well. Lined up very good, and he caught a couple balls, and as soon as he caught them, he got upfield. The one that they rolled a fumble, he hit on his back and it popped out. It really wasn't a fumble, but Major did a good job scooping that one up. And so as a whole, as wide out, we were very pleased, and we've got Ricky Ingram coming, and he's not ready yet. We know that, we see that, but I expect him to start getting more time, maybe in the near future. And we got some young sophomores really pushing too. They're coming on, Rutherford and T. Goree. You'll see you'll see some of T. Goree this week. And Rutherford, I think you'll see he'll have a big night, JV. But we're happy with that position, and we got to keep getting better, obviously. But we're happy where we are, and see how good they can be.
All right, now next week we'll focus on the defense, but I want to get your overall comments on the defense. Gave up that early touchdown to Jacksonville, pretty much shut them down after that.
Well, we busted coverage on the 4th and 5 that they completed it down to the 5 or 4 or 3, whatever it was. Our safety's supposed to go. Pope was supposed to get over the top, and he got a little. He got his eyes were bad. He got a little aggressive trying to pick off the stops, and he should have been over the top of that. And we played very good defense on that down. Other than that, and then that's pretty much the only score the ones gave up. They moved the ball a little bit, but they had a good offense. We saw them in scrimmages move the ball, and against Corsicana and Maybank, and they scored every time pretty much they had against Maybank, and they scored 10 points in the regular game against Corsicana, and and could have scored more. So we knew they had I think 6 back on offense, all the wideouts, all the tailback, a couple of linemen. So we thought they were very dangerous, and to be honest, their sophomore struggled a little bit, but that had a lot to do with us. We was putting a lot of pressure on him, and we had good coverage. So I thought we played very well defensively for 2 weeks in a row now, and 3 weeks in a row. Also against Kilgore, we were a little disappointed against Kilgore in the game situation, but I thought we played well.
All right, let's talk about the Lindale Eagles. Lindale, the champs last year in 14-3A, and really they probably should win it again. They're not in an extremely strong district, but they are one heck of a football team. Last year, of course, if you were at Bulldog Stadium, one of the really great games of the year. If you think about great games and close finishes, Brownwood comes to mind, and certainly a late touchdown pass by Anthony Morgan to win that one.